So I was supposed to go drifting for the first time about a month and a half ago with Slide Factory at the balcony, but the car had other plans in mind, which were mainly blowing power steering fluid all the way down the driveway and out on the road, which was super fun to deal with. No power steering, very loud, late at night, Jeff tired, people staring, you know, standard. Oh, I have good news and bad news. The good news is the car has moved, it's not there. The bad news is it's right there because I got it going and I started it up and then this happened. That is a shitload, which is a official term, measurement term, of power steering fluid that exploded from back there somewhere. And if you look in here, which you can't see because there's no light, it is totally empty in there. So my power steering has completely exploded. Well, I finally got some sleep last night, then this morning returned the trailer, and then when I got back I crawled under the car and pulled this guy off, which is my high pressure power steering line. And you can see a pretty obvious kink right there in the line, and I assume that happened when I was torquing down my fittings. So I think what happened was I torqued down the fitting. This ended up being on the back side of the line that I couldn't see. So it would have looked kind of like that from outside the car instead of like that. So I think I must have kinked the line there and then it built up pressure and blew out one of the ends. So I'm going to pull this guy apart, and I have more line here that I ended up not using. So I'm going to make a longer version of that so I don't get that kink in the middle of it when I torque it down. And hopefully this will fix the problem. So here's the old one and here's the new one. I cut that one in half to get the end fittings off, but you can see where the kink was right there. This one's about 3 inches longer, and hopefully I'll be able to get it on without causing the same problem. But I spent the last month fixing the issue, and that was that the first rack that I had installed was a factory rack that had 140,000 miles on it, and it was leaking out of one of the boots. I looked at my power steering boot on the passenger side, and it has seen much better days. And it turns out that my entire power steering, the passenger side, has leaked fluid all over the ground, so the rack itself is toast. It needs all new seals and a full rebuild. But rather than doing a full rebuild, I thought I would just do the simple thing and just put in a new rack. So this is a A1 Cardone Reman, and that one ended up exploding and blowing oil into both of the boots and completely filling it with fluid, which was kind of crazy. So this is the second Reman steering rack that I got. The first one was from A1 Cardone and ended up being bad because it blew the seals out here and filled the boots with hydraulic fluid, which is terrible. This one is from O'Reilly. I'm not sure the manufacturer, but it came with the same kind of pretty crummy looking stock-ish rubber bushings. I'm going to replace those with my Battle version bushings again. I'm going to add a little bit of grease in here. I'm going to clean it out with acetone first and then pop these guys in there like that and then get it on the car. So now this is the second Reman rack, and it seems so far to be doing fine. So far so good. Hopefully it holds. I have to still get my alignment figured out because the toe is way off and caused some issues. But anyway, that in terms of the power steering stuff, everything seems to be figured out. Oh, I also swapped a new power steering pump in as well. Well, not a new one, the one that came with the engine, which has 40,000 miles or so. So that pump should last for a while, hopefully.
The car has stalled. It's stalled in the middle of the street. A neighbor came and helped us push it off to the side because it was blocking traffic.
think is too small or something. I just took it outside, stalled it again until the battery died again, and then our neighbors thankfully happened to have a huge tow truck come and jump start it for me. Now it's running fine, but I'm not gonna take it down the street and back again in the event that it stalls like for the 15th time today. So probably need to get a new battery for that thing, but the good thing is it ran out, power steering works. I think I'm just gonna have to get this thing to the track and give it a proper shakedown run. Embarrassingly, one thing that I did not realize is that I never hooked up the alternator wire to the battery. That's this right here. This is the output to the battery. So my alternator was not charging my battery, and that just is chalked up to me being a complete noob at wiring. Here we have the 0 gauge wire, the same wire that I used for the battery, going from the alternator along the top of the engine to a 200 amp fuse, then down to the starter, which is where it'll connect up to the battery. And I don't really know a better way to run this, because if I ran the wires down the exhaust manifold, it gets, obviously could be a little hot. So I just figured I'll just run it along the top. It looks kind of crappy, but at this point I don't really care. I just want to get the car running into the track. So it goes down to the starter where it connects to the battery cables like a lot of OEM cars work. You can see where I ended up installing my studs for the hood pins right to my little custom brackets there, which actually worked out really well. I don't have to drill into my front core support or anything. So besides the engine stuff, I've been working on some other things in the meantime. I have some wheel spacers installed because now that I have my angle kit installed, which I will also show pretty soon, my wheels were hitting my lower control arm, so I had to get some spacers to pull them out. I have some on the front and matching ones on the rear. These are some temporary wheels that I'm going to be using for a little while until I can get some nice 18s on the back. Interior wise, I have done quite a bit of stuff. I have my new fire extinguisher mounted, and this is a 2.5 pound ABC fire extinguisher, which hits all of the Formula Drift rulebook requirements. I mounted it to a little aluminum bracket down here so it's nice and firmly mounted in the car. One of the main changes that I've done inside the car is reworked my center console a bit. I removed the center section that I had here for that big dumb panel that I had, and I moved my switch panel that was up here down to there, and then I got this panel right here to cover all the holes in the transmission that were there, as well as using, I think, like an eBay or Amazon shift boot to cover up the main hole right there where the shifter goes through, and I think overall it's just a much cleaner look. I also wired up this little button right here, and that is a reverse solenoid button, because the T56 transmission has a solenoid for the reverse lockout down here somewhere, and there's a very heavy spring inside the transmission that makes it really hard to put it into reverse. So what this does, if you hear that clicking when I push this, there's a solenoid in the transmission that is compressing a spring and lets you put it into reverse easier. And that's a very simple install that I just did. That lets me pop it into reverse very easily. Both of my interior handles are busted on both sides of the car, so I actually went and got some LS400 metal handles that I'm going to be swapping in their place so they will not break. Have to do that still. At some point I'll get to that, but hasn't been a priority yet. I also installed these mufflers in the back of the car because the car was really loud with an open exhaust, and the neighbors were not very happy. So I ended up installing these guys, and I used exhaust clamps down there, so that way when I get to the track I can pop these bolts off really quickly and not have to worry about having these mufflers on the car. So that will make things much easier for my neighbors and for keeping things quiet. So that wraps up this little mini episode. Hopefully you have an idea of where I've been the last month and a half, which is mostly lying under the car in a big puddle of ATF. I have managed to do some other things on the car in the last couple weeks. I got this created and installed. This is a little block-off plate for the radiator. I took some thin gauge aluminum and just kind of contoured it along with the core support there. And this is designed, obviously, like air comes in here and does not come up here before going into the radiator. Pretty simple block-off idea. I don't think I need to have one here because the hood comes down and makes a nice seal here with this little like rubber gasket guy, but I could do one in the future, but for now I'll leave that one open. And I did this past weekend get this guy installed, which is a really awesome splash shield from Z30 Concepts, and I'll be doing an episode on this one really soon, probably in the next couple of days, so keep an eye out for that. There was also a vacuum leak that I fixed on the back of the intake manifold that was causing some idle and some running issues. That's been taken care of. I got the alignment done about 95%, I think, in spec for what we need to be doing here. So basically this thing is track ready. I'm really excited about that. Hopefully I'll be going to the track in the next week or two. My friend Eric from RevMatch TV will be joining me, hopefully with his S13. So that'll be really exciting. Stay tuned for that. Also check out my Z30 Concept splash shield install video coming in the next few days. I've been sick this past week, so I'm a little behind schedule on my editing. I know it's been a month and a half since my last upload, but I've been laying in puddles of ATF under this car in the rain and freezing cold for just countless hours. So thanks for staying with me. Thanks for being patient. Stay tuned for more Fully Spooled. Lots more coming as always. Please do like, maybe subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.